Hi, everybody. Welcome to our second live stream here on YouTube in this series. Actually, our third live stream here on YouTube. And we're talking about obstacles in learning English. There are many, both real and perceived. And last week, when we got together, we talked about real obstacles, very real obstacles. And we gave you some options of how to overcome them, how to persevere in the midst of these very real obstacles. And today we're going to be talking about perceived obstacles. Perceived obstacles. And of course, we have a slide series to accompany it to give you something to look at and read. But hi, everybody, and welcome. Thank you again for joining us. It's awesome to have you here on a Saturday night here in Las Vegas. Or you might be watching this again in the channel, checking this one out since you've seen the previous two. We want to keep doing this every Saturday night, addressing big issues with information and discussion. And I want to encourage you, go ahead and share this right now. Since we are live, share it right now and get as many people as this can help as possible to join us here. We will have answers for some questions at the end. So as you watch this live, if you have questions about obstacles, feel free to answer them and we will include them in this video on our channel. So you can get some of those answers you've been waiting for, right? So perceived obstacles is what we're talking about. Perceived obstacles. That means your perception is your reality. How you see things is very real to you, right? And that's important to us because when it feels real to you, it has the very real effect of stopping you from growing your English the way you should. So sometimes just analyzing why we have obstacles, are they real or are they perceived? And then having an approach so that you can overcome these obstacles is very important. Now, the name of our channel and our community is Toliko Vima English. Toliko Vima is a Greek phrase that means final step. So we teach, promote, encourage fluency in English. Not grammar, that's not our forte. There's some amazing teachers out there that can help you with grammar. But we talk about this dynamic of fluency, going from thinking your thoughts right into English, which for many or most of you, English is a foreign language to you. So it takes a while to develop that process or that route for your brain to go from thought right into English. And we want to encourage you in that process. So, perceived obstacles in learning English. Let's check some of these out and see what we want to discuss tonight. Overcoming the perceived obstacles of learning English. Now, these perceived obstacles include, but are not limited to, fear of making mistakes, lack of confidence. This includes the whole atmosphere of anxiety and negative attitudes towards learning English. And we'll break that down a little bit later, one by one. But the fear of making mistakes, lack of confidence, anxiety as a whole, and negative attitudes towards learning English. Let's talk about this a little bit. Fear of making mistakes. Fear of making mistakes. How many of you have a fear of making mistakes? Well, I have to confess, I have a fear of making mistakes in certain arenas. But there's a formula, if you will, for when you have a fear of making mistakes or a fear at all. And let me break that down for you. Those of you in our community, you've probably heard this at least 10 times by now. So when you have fear, let's look at it over here. When you have fear, fear can paralyze you. Have you ever been paralyzed by fear? I mean, you've been so afraid that you You didn't even try, right? Because you were afraid. So you had fear. Well, there's something you can use to quench that fear. Does anybody know what that is? There's something you can use to quench that fear. And furthermore, there's something that you can build up that as you build it up, you actually immunize yourself against the effects of fear. So let's talk about that. Let's break it down a little bit. If you have fear and you're paralyzed by fear, there's a little thing called courage. I say it's little because if you haven't used it yet, it's pretty little. You might have to look for it. You might have to find it, discover it, or someone else might have to find it for you and say, hey, come on, don't be afraid, just do it. And when you step out in courage, even though there's fear, your courage will grow and your fear will reduce. Your courage will grow and your fear will reduce. The more you use your courage, the bigger it grows and the less effect fear has on you. Now, courage is what you use when you're experiencing fear. And here's what happens. As you use your courage and you decrease your fear, you gain something called an experience. You gain an experience. And when you gain an experience, your confidence level goes up. Can you guys see that? You have fear, you use your courage, you decrease your fear, you walk in your courage, you gain an experience. And as you gain an experience, your confidence goes higher. And then fear no longer has the same effect on you. So fear, very, very interesting, very, very real thing. The fear of making a mistake. People have a lack of confidence. We just talked about that. Anxiety is in the fear family. So lack of confidence. You build your confidence by applying your courage to a fearful situation, gaining an experience, and you will increase your confidence. Anxiety as a whole is like an atmosphere that includes fear. And then negative attitudes toward learning English. That can be that you don't want to learn it, but you have to. And you might feel that sensation, even if you're fascinated by English, even if you understand that English can open up a lot of opportunities for you, you may resent that you have to learn it. But for the sake of your families or, even your line in your family, for the future, then you have to do this. So it can become burdensome and it can become that thing that makes you not enjoy the process because you have a negative attitude towards learning it. It could also be because there's an imbalance. A negative attitude about learning English can also be because there's an imbalance. An imbalance meaning there's two things that you need to grow your English consistently. You need to have a challenge so that in that challenge you grow, right? Like when you exercise and you're challenged by additional weight or repetitions, if you push through that challenge, then you indeed grow. But the process is not comfortable. You just learn over time that that process is necessary so that you can grow. And so in learning English, you have to keep pressing forward. You have to be committed. You have to be consistent and challenge yourself so that you grow. But you also need something else. Listen to me, serious students. You also need something else. And what you need is you need to have a little fun with it, right? Come on. You need to have a little fun with English as you're learning it. And we try to do that on Taliko Vima English through our daily live streams on Hello Talk. We try to do that whenever we get together in our private group discussions or our group calls. Now, we're going to talk more about different venues that can be healthy for you to grow in and have accountability and, receive encouragement. We're going to talk about that later in this broadcast, so stay with us. And you need to have fun with it. So if you're just watching movies and watching series, that's a lot of fun. But if you're not actively listening as you're watching those, meaning taking notes and considering things well, then your fun level may be out of proportion where it should be compared to your challenge level. So there's an imbalance. So again, if you're not having any fun and you're just challenge, study, focus, you could learn to not enjoy the process of developing your English. You could resent it or just not enjoy it. You can get burned out, basically. You got to have fun with it. All right, let's look at this. Learning English as a second language can indeed be challenging. And overcoming obstacles such as fear of making mistakes, lack of confidence, anxiety, and negative attitudes towards learning English can make the process even more difficult. Negative attitudes towards learning can make the process even more difficult. However, with the right mindset and strategies, it is possible to overcome these obstacles and improve your English skills. Let's break it down a little bit. The fear of making mistakes, lack of confidence, anxiety, and negative attitudes towards learning are perceptions. You've gotten there by a conditioned response or from an environment you've been in. They're perceived. You see them as obstacles or hindrances that can keep you from growing and developing. You can gain confidence. You can overcome anxiety. You can change your attitude towards learning English. There's things you can do to alter your perception so that you once again continue to grow. And that's what we're trying to encourage you with here today. You can overcome these perceived obstacles in growing your English. You need to have the right mindset and have a strategy. Let's talk about this a little bit. Embracing mistakes as a part of the learning process. Embracing mistakes as a part of the learning process. Understand that making mistakes is natural when learning a new language. Rather than being afraid of making errors, see them as opportunities to improve. Don't be too hard on yourself. And remember that everyone makes mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes while learning. This is really, when we think about it with other things, when we think about it in learning sports or in learning anything, a trade, a skill, even basic things in life, you're going to make mistakes, right? It's something you can't avoid. You're going to make mistakes. And you learn from those mistakes and you move forward. Or you make a mistake and you just quit, just give up, just forget it. I can't do it. It's not possible, right? No, of course not. You press forward because making mistakes is a part of it. In fact, if you think about it, you make more mistakes than you have successes or victories, right? You fail more than you win. I mean, a season can be filled with failures for a sports team leading up to a final victory. How many times did you fall when you were learning how to walk? Well, you may not know that answer, but ask your parents. You fell many times and you adjusted and you kept going forward. Some things you learn faster with less mistakes because you utilize past experience or skills and you figure it out faster than you did in the beginning. But with everything you're learning that's new to you, you're going to have mistakes. So fear of making mistakes is not realistic. Fear of making mistakes is not realistic. And that perception or that fear or the sensation that you'll be overwhelmed if you make mistakes or you'll be embarrassed or whatever is just a perception. You must alter the way you see it. You must have a strategy to overcome it because it's not worth having that fear. We need to embrace mistakes as part of the learning process. Embrace mistakes as part of the learning process. Think of sports greats Think about, I'm not a sports guy, but think about Michael Jordan. Everyone can agree they know of him. Michael Jordan missed making a basket many, many, many more times than he made it. Many, many, many more times than he made it. But each time he made a mistake, he adjusted, right? Right? Can you picture it? Hit the rim, didn't go in. Well, tried again, hit the rim, didn't go in. Tried many times, finally bounce, went in. Okay, now he wants to make it intentional. He's looking at the square behind where the ball goes. He's putting the spin on it. He's making it go in, trying over and over again. And once he gets it, he tries to imitate that same move again. Oh, got it again, until he locks it in. And then once he locks it in, he can't miss because he's got it locked in. Then he starts imagining scenarios where people are coming at him, higher pressure, more intensity, and he still makes it, increases his success even under duress or pressure. We're going to break that down a little bit later. We've got more slides, so let's talk about this a little bit more. Focus on progress, not perfection. Instead of aiming for perfection, focus on your progress. Instead of aiming for perfection, focus on your progress. That's really important in what's going on with you, is you have to have a focus that includes, one moment here, you must have a focus that involves aiming for perfection. Instead of aiming for perfection, focus on your progress. We have an expression that is practice makes progress, not practice makes perfect. Practice makes progress. And the improvements you make over time, you got to focus on the over time, the bigger picture, instead of the short range plan. You got to focus on the bigger picture, knowing that those mistakes will lead to refinement, and that refinement will actually lead to where you have consistent success. So you celebrate the small achievements and milestones along the way. It builds your confidence that we talked about in your abilities, and it helps you to overcome the negative attitudes and boost your motivation. So it's all about the motivation, boosting your motivation. You gain experience, which increases your confidence and boosts your motivation, knowing that each mistake you make is a step closer to the victory, because you're going to refine, you're going to regroup and refine, right? That's part of the process. Break down your goals. So set specific and achievable goals that are broken down into smaller, manageable tasks. This approach allows you to track your progress more effectively and gives you a sense of accomplishment as you complete each task. That is so important, to feel that you're accomplishing something as you complete each task. It's very important, because otherwise you'll feel like you're doing things without any results. You'll feel that you're applying yourself for no real reason, and no one likes to apply or exert effort without anything to show for it. And so absolutely, we want you to have victory in what you're doing, to be consistent in how you're learning and what's going on, and that is of vital importance. All right, wanted to give you a moment to focus on that slide for a minute. All right, let's go to the next slide here. Break down your goals. We talked about this, more manageable and approach. This approach allows you to track your progress and have a sense of accomplishment, like we just talked about. You know, perception is reality. And so practicing regularly is very important as well. Consistent practice is key to improving your English skills. Creating a study routine and activities like reading, writing, listening to podcasts or music watching English movies or TV shows, and engaging in conversations with native speakers or language exchange partners. The more you expose yourself to the language, the more comfortable you'll become with it. The things we're referring to here can all be accomplished on Hello Talk. Now, Hello Talk is an app that I use every day. It's an app where you can meet other people who are wanting to practice English with you. You can also meet those that have languages that you want to know in addition to English, or they might want to know your language. So you can do a language exchange. For example, if you speak Spanish and you're trying to learn English, you can find those who are interested in learning Spanish, and you can help them the best way you can. You don't have to be a teacher. And in exchange, you can learn English from them. And it has features such as having a language exchange appointment. And halfway through the time that you set, whether it's 15 minutes or 20 or 30 minutes, you can make an appointment with somebody. It adjusts for your time zone so you can see what time that is in your local time. And it gives you a timer halfway through that appointed language exchange. It will chime and tell you it's time to change languages. You even have an easy chat where you can type things. If you don't know how to say it in each other's language, you can type it and quickly translate that text quickly just by tapping on it. So you can overcome that obstacle. You can gain that experience. And a large portion of that app is free of charge. I want to say 90% or more is completely free of charge. They do have additional features or extended use of certain areas. If you join, and the membership is very reasonable. If you want one-on-one language tutoring, they have that for a fee per 15 minutes. You can get with a tutor. Usually they're live streamers like myself, but I don't participate in pay for tutorship like others do. We do it for free as much as we can. I don't charge for that. But others do charge, and it's probably worth your time to get devoted time with some of these English-speaking live streamers, as well as with other languages, guys. But in our case, we're focused on English. And so you can use every aspect of Hello Talk, and it continues to grow. We have daily live streams there at 4 a.m. Las Vegas time. We have a live stream for 2 hours every day of the week, and we have different topics and different approaches. So getting into that environment where you're encouraged and being able to use your English is very, very important. And so within this last slide, we're talking about breaking down your goals, being specific, and having achievable goals so they're manageable and they're smaller. You can have those goals of spending, say, 15 minutes a day talking with someone in English for free. You can find language partners as well on Hello Talk for free. And you can work consistently by having appointments with someone. In fact, if you're just practicing English, you can make appointments with people to practice English. And you can, again, it's on the app. You can make an appointment to be with them once, twice a week, practice English. Since we have live streams every day, you can use our topics or our materials to practice with your new partner. And it's important to look back here at this slide that we talked about. I believe it was right up here. Well, we'll get to it. I guess it's coming up. But talking with people who, here it is, practicing consistently is key, right? Consistent practice to improve in your English, creating a study routine, which could involve the people that you met on Hello Talk, including reading together. You guys could take time reading together. You can write or text to one another throughout the day, listening to podcasts. Well, we have a podcast as well. If you're interested in our podcast, the podcast is Truly Pivotal Moments. Truly Pivotal Moments is on Spotify. We do have one called Taliko Vima English on Spotify. It's just getting started. If you want to listen to podcasts, we have that. Of course, English music, watching English movies or TV shows, looking at our videos on this YouTube channel, and engaging in conversations with native speakers or or native speakers or language exchange partners, because the more you expose yourself to the language, the more comfortable you'll become. The more you expose yourself to the language, the more comfortable you'll become. And I encourage people on Hello Talk and in our community to get with language learners because they're more accessible. You can have one language learner that is above you in skill set and one language learner that thinks that you've got a developed area that is greater than theirs. And you can learn from one another. Get with other language learners and learn from them. Next, find a supportive learning environment. Well, that's what we're talking about, isn't it? Hello Talk is a supportive learning environment. Taliko Vima English is a supportive learning environment, and we can encourage one another. We have a private study group that we encourage each other in. We get together with group calls. We have get-togethers like this. Here today, Monera and Rusalan are here in the chat. I know many others will watch this on our channel, and then we'll somehow get these types of teachings over to our large base, which is in China. We'll be able to share with you as well these teachings. And many of these teachings in this topic specifically are things that I share on a regular basis. It's just all brought together with a slideshow here today. So for your learning, for concise learning, and for a reference for you all. Now, managing your anxiety. Managing your anxiety. If you experience anxiety when you speak English, try relaxing techniques like deep breathing, visualizing yourself speaking without any problems, even being aware of yourself, mindfulness that you are learning, encourage yourself, and practice speaking in low pressured situations first. In low pressure situations first. Let me give you an example. In Hello Talk, they have groups like ours, Taliko Vima English. In Hello Talk, they have voice rooms where you can go and be in the chat and just listen, or you can raise your hand by hitting an icon, be invited to the stage where I think there's 7 other people can be on stage. It's just video. I mean, it's audio, it's not video. So adjust to that setting where you're talking without the video and you're interacting with, native hosts or other people within the chat about a topic that you're interested in, and pressure, adjust or acclimatize to that atmosphere of challenge. And then when you get comfortable with that, then you can go to a live stream and raise your hand to get on stage. And then you'll adjust there as well. I know another live streamer named Mick has encouraged me because he's got tough love. He has people that he encourages them to come on the stage and camera on. He's adamant about that, to the point that if people come on stage, he will go ahead and take them off stage with a few words. He'll say, well, okay, next time maybe you can be better prepared and be realistic, be better prepared and be ready for the camera. And he'll welcome them back down to the chat, which is like a what? But I've started bringing that edge to our live stream because the pressure that you feel and the pressure that you adjust to by being on camera is one that helps you to overcome that fear and adjust to the pressure of talking with someone live, let alone talking to a native, because that has an increased sensation of, I don't want to make a mistake or anxiety, right? So we're trying to help you to overcome that fear by adjusting to the sensation of that fear in other ways, like, coming live here. So gradually getting used to that atmosphere is really important. Managing your anxiety. So try the relaxing techniques, of course. practice speaking in low pressure situations first on Hello Talk or in a supportive group like the Tiliko Vima English chat group. And as you become more comfortable, gradually challenge yourselves or challenge yourself. But I mean, as far as talking to the community, challenge yourselves to engage in more demanding conversations. That could be a demanding conversation such as on, I think it's Thursdays. Thursday, I think it's Thursdays. We have a debate day that we've started having. That day is assigned for debating, and it's either a lesson that is taught where I teach new people the art of debate, the strategy of debate, or we bring back people who have given us a topic and had a week to study it, and then they challenge one another again. It's critical thinking, which is a time constraint, right? And it helps you to search for the English you know. You'll be surprised how much of the language you're learning you know when the pressure's on or the passion is high. If you're competitive or if you just really want to express your opinion on a matter, you'll dig deeper because you'll become less conscious of being critiqued and more you'll have an increased desire in sharing what you want to share in that language. And that dynamic alone helps you to overcome the obstacles of fear in talking or in using your English. Remember, fear is decreased as courage is increased. Experienced is gained, and then confidence goes up. And with the increase in confidence, the fear level goes down. It has less of an impact or effect on you, right? All right. Well, let's go to this next slide here. Celebrate your success and learn from the setbacks. We talked about I'm glad I looked down and saw the camera was still on. Celebrating your success and learning from setbacks. Acknowledge and celebrate your achievements, no matter how small they may seem. Recognizing that setbacks are a part of the learning process and use them as opportunities to reflect, learn, and grow. So remember that each setback brings you a step closer to success. We've talked about this, but let this be a reiteration on this very important point that you're going to learn from your setbacks. Celebrate your successes. The reason we don't say that practice makes perfect is because we all will continue to raise the bar or raise the level of expectation. And therefore, we'll never feel like we're making progress. If you're doing this language thing on your own and you are not engaged in community and you don't have any language partners, well, think of this. If you don't have someone else helping you or working with you, you may not see the progress you're making. And when you have a language partner with you, you will say, man, the partner may say to you, you know what, man, you've made a big improvement like over the last 2 weeks. I can totally see that you're growing. You're no longer saying this word like this. You're more confident when you're sharing your English. I see you raising your hand and going on stage in live streams more often. You know, you can encourage one another and receive that encouragement and celebrate those small things, those small victories, because this is a long process. It's a long process of learning fluency in another language. There are many obstacles, and so you have to be encouraged by celebrating your successes, right, guys? Well, remember, learning English is a journey, and it's important to be patient and persistent. I share this with our group all the time. Be patient and persistent. And when you are patient and persistent, you will adopt this positive mindset. You'll embrace your mistakes. You'll grow in these obstacles. You'll become stronger with it. I keep thinking that the camera, I don't know why it looks like I'm looking down there. And you'll overcome these obstacles and become more confident in your English speaking abilities. And so this is a process. It's a journey. You have to be patient and persistent as you go, because This is not an overnight thing. People ask me from time to time, how can I learn faster? Well, we actually have a video for the in the YouTube channel for the fastest way to learn English. Um, but how do you learn faster? Well, you have to be consistent at first. You've got to be persistent, and you've got to be patient in the process. Enjoy the process because it's going to go on for a while. Now, you can learn faster if you set goals that are really realistic and achievable. Remember, we talked about that? Breaking your long range goal down into digestible, smaller goals. And you can have that sense of success with those goals, right? And that will fuel you. It will encourage you. It'll fuel you for the challenges ahead. You must sense progress. So practice makes progress. The more you do it, the more consistent you are, you're making progress. The more mistakes you made, the more you've learned what areas you need to focus on instead of just doing everything. So I want to add this little injection here that making mistakes brings to your attention the areas that you need to focus on. If you didn't have mistakes, you may continue to practice all different aspects of learning English. But when you make mistakes, you realize, I've got this. When you celebrate your victories, when you have language study partners that make you aware of areas that you no longer struggle with, then you can focus on the areas you have consistent problems with, right? You can spend that additional resource of energy and time and effort, and you can put it towards something that needs additional time and effort and energy instead of just going through the motions. So if you're able to comprehend what people are saying in different forms of English accent, then you're listening to sitcoms all the time is already accomplished, right? You've accomplished what you wanted to do. Yeah. And so you can decrease the amount of time you're spending watching a whole season of that series, and you can spend more time in the areas that you need to develop. I hope it makes sense to you guys. Oh, the end. So let's do this full face thing. Here we go. We're going to summarize all this for you as we go through this. We've talked about anxiety. We've talked about fear of failure. Here, check this out. We talked about lack of confidence, how to build your confidence, negative attitudes towards learning. We talked about being patient and persistent, that it's a journey, that mistakes are actually your ally or your friend. Exactly. We want to welcome another group member. Yen just joined in the chat, so welcome. And guys, get ready because those of you in the chat, we're going to have time for questions and answers of all of these things, or maybe you want to share something about your experience in this area. These are perceived obstacles. I mean, it is how you see them. If you don't have this fear of making mistakes, then it's not true for you. It's true for other people, but not for you. If you don't have a lack of confidence, then it's not true for you. It's not perceived for you. You don't see it as an obstacle. You might just have more and more anxiety than other people. Or you might have a resentment that you have to learn and develop and refine your English. Who knows? Everyone has their own challenges. We talked about having the right mindset, having a strategy, not having this negative attitude towards it, but think about the benefits of learning this language, and that making mistakes can actually help you to build your confidence because you'll adjust and you'll make less mistakes and have more victories. We talked about embracing opportunities that we have in using Hello Talk and getting a study group and to have progress over time, to celebrate your small achievements. We talked about tracking your progress so that you can see the sense of accomplishment by having a manageable, you got to have a plan, right? You got to create a plan, a regimented time of study, and increase in the areas that you need to work on and decrease the areas that you don't need to work on. And so this entire process here that we've talked about requires you to be patient and persistent. And so we have three of our actual group members in the chat today. We have Monera and Ruslan, and in fact Yen just joined us, and others may join us. This is the live version. So if any of you have a question or want to share something in regard to perceived obstacles, what kept you maybe, what kept you from learning your English, or what kept you from growing your English, that would be very interesting to see. And if we don't get to it here in the chat, then you can meet all three of these wonderful people in our community in our private group in Hello Talk. And you can talk with me about that. You can leave a comment here in this video. You can leave a comment as this video is in our channel, and you can ask me, Jonathan, how do I get to where you were talking about? Well, it's called Hello Talk, and it's a place where you can grow your English learning experience. I'll put it here in the chat, but I'll also put it in a comment once I allow this to be published. And the key to your success is what we talked about, that joining a group or a community, Taliko Vima English, we're available on Redbook in China under Taliko Vima English. You can search us there. We have a Billy channel. We also have podcasts. We talked about Truly Pivotal Moments. We have a podcast called Taliko Vima English. It's new. It's getting started. We're on Hello Talk as Taliko Vima English as well. And we have this YouTube channel, which is wonderful. We even have a TikTok under the same thing. That's about all the venues for now that we have. We're on WeChat, which is a Chinese app, and we have a group called Taliko Vima English. And every Saturday night, we're going to have this live version. I'll try to go ahead and schedule it ahead of time so that it's on our channel and you can reserve or come in and comment than the short notice I'm giving now. But leave your comments here, guys. Subscribe to our channel. Give us that kind of support. Share this with other people, because the more we grow, the more we can learn and know the things and overcome the obstacles that are in our way, both real and perceived. We can share resources. And I want to thank our members who did come in today, of course, Monera and Ruslan and Yen for joining and showing your support here. But I know many, many more people will watch this video on our channel. And if you want to join us every day at 4 a.m. Las Vegas or Pacific Standard Time, we're on Hello Talk live streaming. And we'll be happy to welcome you there. Just let us know you saw us here. And of course, we'll see you again next week on the live stream version here on YouTube. You guys, I want to thank you for joining. I want to wish you well in your pursuit of the English language, and we'll see you again next time on Taliko Vima English.